More than 500 migrants attempt to cross the Channel in a single deadly day. Patience wears thin with the government's pledge to stop the boats, which keep on coming.
The government seem really determined to stick to this hardline deterrent strategies, this hostile environment. We've been doing that for over a decade now, and we need a humanitarian approach.
Also tonight, the full horror emerges in Hawaii. Almost 100 lives lost among the ashes of this week's fires. Remembering Omar, 25 years on from the very worst of Northern Ireland's troubles. And the Lionesses prepare to face their Aussie adversaries.
This is ITV News with Paul Brand.
Good evening. We now know that the 6 migrants who died attempting to cross the Channel yesterday were among more than 500 for whom the dangers proved no deterrent. The sheer number of small boat crossings on Saturday, along with their fatal consequences, has left both MPs and charities losing patience with government policy. Today, Labour said people smugglers were running rings around ministers. One Tory MP said there was a moral duty to act. From Dover, Charlotte Cross reports.
Clear waters in Dover this afternoon. Little sign of the chaos and tragedy in the Channel yesterday. At least 58 migrants were rescued when their boat sank off the coast of France in the early hours of the morning. 6 others died in the water. It was a terrible end to the government's Small Boats Week, which had intended to highlight progress on curbing Channel crossings. But yesterday alone, 10 small boats carrying 509 people made the journey across that water, the very same day that 6 others died while trying to do so. More than 1,000 people crossed the Channel on Thursday and Friday too, bringing the total so far for this year to 16,679. And for organisations that work with those who've made the crossing, those numbers are proof that something isn't working. What do you make of the government's policy so far?
We've been here so many times in the last few years. The government seem really determined to stick to this hardline deterrent strategies, this hostile environment. We've been doing that for over a decade now, and the numbers continue to go up. And it's unacceptable. You know, we need a humanitarian approach. These are human beings.
But the government today defended their efforts on their pledge to stop the boats.
The government have been stopping boats. There are record numbers of people arriving in Europe at the moment, but the actual numbers coming from France into the United Kingdom have gone down. There's a lot of work that's been undertaken to achieve that. We're working very closely with the French government now to stop boats being launched. Obviously, we haven't stopped them all. It's going to continue to be a problem, but we have stopped a lot.
Policy aside, high winds appear to have deterred crossings today, with the Coast Guard saying it had not been involved in any incidents so far. But with the shadow of yesterday's news still looming large, campaigners fear without a different approach from the government, the death count in these waters will continue to rise. Charlotte Cross, ITV News.
Well, our political correspondent Tom Sheldrick is here with me now. And Tom, we repeatedly hear the government say it wants to stop the small boats, but what does it do now when its policies clearly aren't having the desired effect?
Well, Paul, the deaths in the Channel yesterday have led to demands for fresh action. Labour are calling for a crackdown on trafficking gangs and a focus on cutting the backlog in asylum cases, while the former Conservative Party chairman Jake Berry has said the government have a moral duty to act and the UK should leave the European Convention on Human Rights to get full control of immigration policy. That would be a big move that the Tories could look to make at some point in the future. For now, though, there is little sign of change in the government's approach. Indeed, they may be doubling down. There are reports today that they're planning to hire more barges to accommodate migrants in the UK. That's despite the latest setback this week, when the first people taken on board the Bibby Stockholm in Dorset were then evacuated after Legionella bacteria was found in the water system. That policy is meant to be a deterrent to migrants coming here, as is sending asylum seekers to Rwanda, though that plan is still in the courts. It was ruled unlawful in June, and the government's appeal is due to be heard in the Supreme Court this autumn. So yes, more than anything, I think ministers will be desperate for the immigration policies they are already pursuing to make some progress.
Indeed, Tom, thank you. Hawaii's wildfire has become the deadliest in America for more than a century. The number who've died has now reached 93. Of them, only a few have been identified and hundreds of people are still missing. As the full horror of the disaster begins to emerge, the state's governor says the death toll is likely to rise significantly. From Maui, our correspondent Peter Smith reports.
The Maui fires reached homes like these in the middle of the night, when most people were still asleep. This is all that's left of someone's bed here now. Remnants of the fire are still smouldering, leaving a trail of ashes and loss. They continue to count the dead, but the homeless are now well into the thousands.
1, 2, 3, fire!
Survivors gather here in makeshift shelters.
I don't know if I'll ever get over it. I lost my town, I lost my house. I mean, I'm not trying to be materialistic, but I mean, these are things I can't replace.
Those who managed to escape, either by road or by jumping into the sea, are now dealing with the grief of finding out which of their neighbours did not make it out alive.
I know some of the people died in the water when I was in the water. So that was really bad. I mean, I have never seen anything like this before. I'm never going to forget it.
The governor of Hawaii was taken into Lahaina today, the town hit hardest on Maui.
This is the largest natural disaster we've ever experienced. It's going to also be a natural disaster that's going to take an incredible amount of time to recover from.
The number killed here has now exceeded America's worst wildfire of the last century, but just 2 of the dead have so far been positively identified. When the fire was hot enough to melt metal like this, the process of recovering victims and informing families is going to take time. Orange check marks on these vehicles indicate no body was found in here, but emergency teams are still having to go car by car, house by house, searching because there are still about 1,000 people missing on Maui. Sniffer dogs trained to find bodies have been brought into Maui, but these teams have still only been able to search a tiny part of the fire zone.
They just got here, and so we're going as fast as we can. But just so you know, 3%, that's what's been searched with the dogs, 3%.
With 97% of the burned out buildings still to be searched, it is not just likely, it is inevitable now that the numbers killed will continue to increase. Peter Smith, ITV News, Maui.
Some other news now. And a car which veered off a road and into a Pembrokeshire campsite last night hit a tent with a baby inside. Emergency services were called to Newgale in West Wales shortly after 10:30 yesterday. It's not thought the child was hurt, but 9 people were injured, 2 seriously. Pubs in England and Wales will be allowed to continue selling takeaway drinks. The government's extended the COVID licensing rules that were initially put in place to restrict the spread of the virus. The regulations had been due to expire in September. And a former sailor, believed to be the last Royal Navy veteran to have served at Dunkirk, has died at the age of 102. Lawrence Churcher passed away at a care home in Fareham a few days short of his 103rd birthday. He was honoured for his part in the evacuation of Dunkirk in 1940 and described today as a truly remarkable man. A memorial service has been held in County Tyrone this afternoon to mark a quarter of a century since the Omagh bombing. 29 people were killed and hundreds more injured when a real IRA car bomb exploded. It was the biggest single loss of life of the Northern Ireland Troubles. And today, 25 years on, survivors and relatives reflected on the town's enduring trauma. Our senior international correspondent, John Irvine, was at the memorial.
A rose to represent each of the 29 people killed at this spot. 25 years later, the memorial and plaque on Omagh's main street can still stop visitors in their tracks. In the nearby Remembrance Garden, local people, many of them relatives of the dead and survivors, some both, gathered this afternoon to mark this milestone.
25 years ago, the Omagh bomb tore through the fabric of our town, leaving behind unimaginable pain and devastation. The memories of that fateful afternoon are etched into our collective consciousness.
Oma's heart was ripped out at 3:10 on a busy Saturday afternoon. Not only was it the deadliest atrocity of the Troubles, it was also the most extensive, for it killed men, women and children, locals and foreigners, Protestants and Catholics, and neither. Michael Gallagher, who lost his son Aidan, believes the nature of the Omagh attack effectively sounded the death knell for terrorism.
Those people declared war on an unsuspecting civilian population, left the bomb, left the people of Omagh. They went into a situation that no human being should ever have to deal with, lifting body parts and dealing with that hell on earth that they had to deal with.
The inevitable passage of time means the Omagh atrocity may never be remembered in such a big way again. 25 years have passed already, but it still hurts. John Irvine, ITV News, in Omagh.
On to sport now, and in the Premier League, Mauricio Pochettino's first game as Chelsea boss ended in a 1-1 draw against Liverpool.
It's Salah, it's a super ball, it's Diaz, it's a super goal!
Mo Salah set up Liverpool's opener. His inch-perfect pass finished off by Luis Diaz. Chelsea equalised before half-time though. Axel Disasi with a goal on his debut to earn his side a point. And in their first match after the departure of Harry Kane, Spurs fought back from 2-1 down to force a 2-2 draw at Brentford with an equaliser from Emerson Royal. Finally, and staying with football, England's World Cup squad are tonight back at their beachside base, but there's little time to celebrate yesterday's 2-1 victory over Colombia. The Lionesses are already preparing for this week's semi-final showdown against Australia. That old sporting rivalry is, however, news to their manager, who only had warm words for Wednesday's hosts, as our sports editor Steve Scott explains from Australia.
A day of rest and reflection for the Lionesses. A light run out for those who didn't start last night, while the Warriors who did recuperated back at their hotel. In the face of intimidation on the pitch and from the stands too, England showed courage, resilience and a killer instinct against Colombia. The win, their fifth in a row here, an impressive platform ahead of potentially the two biggest games of their lives.
It's about reflecting on this performance, taking loads of positives from it because there's plenty of them, and getting ready for the semi-final.
The Lionesses will spend their next 3 days here in the relative calm of their beachside base camp north of Sydney. It's a serenity that's a world away from what they faced last night and the cauldron that awaits at Stadium Australia on Wednesday.
Still on top of the world.
The Lionesses will be best served ignoring Australian media in the coming days because it probably won't be long before the sledging starts.
And against the old enemy, England.
Serena Wiegmann has been beaten only once in 37 games as England boss, and that defeat, yes, against Australia. But the long-standing rivalry between the two countries is lost on her.
I've had a couple of questions about that, so it's probably going to be bigger than I imagine now. So I'll talk to my players and staff and see what that rivalry is then. I think the Australians and English can get along really well. We have had such a warm welcome here, and we're really enjoying our time in Australia.
If Wiegmann isn't properly briefed by then, she'll be in for quite the shock when the game gets underway. Steve Scott, ITV News, Terrigal in New South Wales.
Good luck to them on Wednesday. That's it for now. I'll be back shortly after 10. Until then, you can get updates on ITVX throughout the evening. But for now, have a very good night.
Today we'll see warmer temperatures moving in from the east.
especially around tea time. Heinz Beans sponsors ITV National Weather.
Hello again. Hope you've all had a lovely Sunday so far. Well, the heads up for the middle part of the week. We are expecting some very warm, if not hot temperatures in places. But ahead of all of that, we've still got a fairly messy forecast to deal with. Now, as we go through this evening and tonight, it's a mix of clear skies and showers for Scotland and Northern Ireland. But across England and Wales, we've got this rain band spreading its way north and east with some heavy downpours in places, especially across parts of Wales and Northern England. Here, locally, we could be looking at around 80 millimetres of rainfall. So there is the risk of some localised flooding, and it will be a warm and muggy night for many too. So that's how we start things on Monday morning. Quite muggy out there first thing, cloudy, further outbreaks of rain. But you can see quite slow that rain does start to extend its way north and eastward. So behind it, we'll see the skies brighten and temperatures are not too bad tomorrow in the sunshine. Highs there of 22 degrees. As I mentioned earlier, it's going to get even warmer as the week continues. Bye-bye.
Heinz Beans sponsors ITV National Weather.